So what we'll do is you're going to, once you take your test, you're going to go to your email. I'll show you in just a minute. When you get to your email, there'll be an email technically from Focus. I'll be CC'd on it. And there'll be their code. And what you'll do is you'll open the attachment. It'll say test code on the attachment. You'll click on the link and then your test will pull up. You'll type in your first and last name. I'm doing this as an example just so you can know what it looks like. So we're going to do the review so everybody can see what you're supposed to do when you take your test. So it starts with a problem. It's going to say David starts with however much, and then he spends $3 every day. So this is going to be where you make the table. So you have to make a T-chart, just like I'm doing here. And how do I make it so it lets me like draw and stuff? I don't want to write everything out. Oh, there it is. Okay. So it's asking us to make a table of how much money he has left. So here I'm going to put David's money. And on this side, I'm going to say number of days because every day he's spending the money. Now, it's going to be really important when you do this that you start with 0. It's supposed to be a table of 0 through 10. If you don't do 0 through 10, then you're going to get it wrong. So he starts with, okay, so what to do? He starts with $60. So for 0, it's going to be 60. First day he spends $3, so he has 57 left. He spends another $3, another $3 every day. This is from the review that you were supposed to turn in. So that's where I got that. Okay, I'm done. There's my table. And then I'm going to have to figure out how much money he has left after 20 days. So let me see if there are any questions. I'm going to do my work on a sticky note. Or maybe not. It might show me in a minute. Let's try this again. Here we go. All right, so every day I am subtracting 3, right? So if it's the first day, I subtract 3 from 60, and that equals 57. On the second day, it's $3 for the first day, $3 for the second day, so it's 54. And then I continue this. If it's 3 days, I subtract 3 for each day, and I get a total of 51 that he has left. Then I do this again for 4 days. I subtract 3 4 times, and I get 48. So what I'm doing right here is I'm really subtracting 60 minus 3 4 times, which I could say 3 4 times this way, and I get 48. 3 times 4, those 3 4 times is the same thing as saying minus 12. Okay, now the reason I'm showing you this way so you can see the pattern so that when we can write the algebraic rule. And so it's asking us for 20 days. I don't want to do minus 3 20 times. I'm hoping you see the pattern. So for example, if I had to do this 5 times, I'd write minus 3 5 times, which is the same thing as subtracting 15. And so I get 45 because 60 minus 15 is 45. So I don't want to do this 20 times. I don't want to do minus 3 20 times. So what I can do in IA is just do 60 minus 3 20 times. And 3 times 20 is the same thing as 60. So 60 minus 60 is 0. So on the 20th day, he doesn't have any money left. He has $0. Okay. So on the next part for number 3, I'm going to have to write the explanation. So I'm asking you to write this in your journal. on page 18. Let me give you a minute if you don't have your journal on page 18 to write this in your journal on page 18. So this is review for test number 2 that you'll take today. The test is due on Friday. All right, and so what I'm doing each time is I'm subtracting 3 for each day. So I could say can you read that? We subtract 3 written out from 60 for each day. Okay, please make sure you write that on page 18 in your journal. Notice that I have the operation. The operation is subtract. So when you do your algebraic rule explanation, you have to use the math operation. We have a beginning because it's from 60, and then there's the algebraic part that says for each day. We don't say subtract 3 each from the one before. We say for each day. So this needs to be written on page 18. Remember that test 2 can take place of test 1. The grade can take place of test 1 as long as you did better on test 2 than you did on test 1. All right, I'm going to write it here, so if you didn't get it, I'm going to write it here anyway. You could say to calculate the amount of money David has, we subtract 3 for each day from 60. That would be your algebraic rule. It has an operation. It has the algebraic piece, and we wrote out all the numbers. The review that I'm doing right now with you is for a grade. It's already on Google Classroom. It's already one of the formatives I sent out. So I'm giving you a chance to write this in your journal. And if you haven't finished the review, you can go finish it later. And are you on Google Classroom? Or the Google Meet? Thank you. All right, so to write all of this, to calculate how much money David has, I'm not going to abbreviate it. That means that I would take, like, when we say TCU, that's an abbreviation. T for Texas, C for Christian, U for University. I don't abbreviate in math. I write all of this with a variable. So I don't write T, C, T, A, O, M, D. That's an abbreviation. I don't do that. I just use one letter. And I can use C, or I can use D or M. So I'm going to use D, and I'm going to say you have to tell me what each letter stands for that you use. D is the amount of money that David has. All right, so you need to write it out. Now, I say that every time I subtract from 60, so I'm going to say 60 minus the 3 that I subtract for each day. Now, I know that D is another, like it stands for a day, but I've already used a D, so I can't use a D again. I can use N, but I have to explain what that N stands for. N is going to stand for the number of days. So when you do this, you have to abbreviate. Not abbreviate, sorry, like the number, instead of writing the word 60, I'm using the digit 60 for this one. And I have to explain which each variable represents and it stands for. For the next piece, either you can draw the graph for number 5 or you can make it on your paper. If I was doing this, I would for sure do it on paper and not on the computer because it's too hard. Did everybody get number 4, or does anyone need any more time to write number 4 down?
You go back up to 1 and 2.
Yeah, I'll go back in just a minute. I can go back to 3 right now, but it's gonna be way too small. This is what your review should look like. All right, so for the next piece, you can draw the graph if you really want to. Some people did it this way. I would not. I mean, I tried to do this earlier and it was kind of difficult to do it this way. To do this. So what I would do is I would draw it on paper. I would get a grid paper and I would do it on a grid paper. So you can do that instead of drawing it out. You can just get a grid paper. Make sure your axes are labeled. Because my table only has positive numbers, you look at the table, it only has the positive numbers on number 1. So I don't need to use the other coordinate grid. I don't need to have the 4 quadrants. I just need 1. So this would be the number of days. 0 through 10. And then this would be the amount he has. Now, if you look at the table, the biggest number is 60, so 60 has to fit. So I can't scale this by 1. That means I can't count by 1 because 60 is not going to fit. But if it'll fit if I count by 5s. So that's what I'm going to do. I count by 5s. And I'm going to plot my points from the table. This is kind of like what you had to do on CC.15, which is one of the IXLs. All right, so I'm going to use my table to plot the points. So for 0, it was 60. For 0, it was 60. For 1, it was 57. For 2, it was 54, right under the 55. For 3, it was 51, right above the 50. You can just know that your test is going to be due soon, and we're going over the review right now. which I don't think you've turned in. I would not go, is what I'm telling you to, is what I'm saying, until I'm done with the review. Unless it was an absolute emergency. For 4, it'd be 48. For 5, it'd be 45. For 6, it'd be 42. For 7, it was 39. For 8, it was 36. For 9, it was 33. For 10, it was 30. Okay, and then I'm gonna connect the points. So I'm doing it on paper. I would take a picture and then upload it. That's what I would do if I was a student. I would not want to draw this like with the little scribbler, but to each their own. So that is what you're going to be doing. I did the 5 problems for you on this right here. So what you're going to do is in a minute, you're going to check your email from me, and you're going to get the code to take your test. Questions. If you didn't get that graph, I'll go